Come on, Soda Pop, let's go.
I hope you appreciate your opening acts. Candidate for auditor who is going to clean up the mess down in the auditor's office, right?
This is really exciting, isn't it? When I drove in and couldn't find a parking spot, I thought, wow, the auditor's race is really a hot issue. Which it is, but it's really great to speak in front of a crowd this size. So the auditor's race, what does an auditor do? How important is it? These are some questions that I've been asked, and these are some questions that I had to ask when I was first asked to run for auditor. So one of the main jobs of the auditor is the election process. Okay? They're in charge of overseeing it, making sure everything's accounted for, making sure ballots are printed correctly, sent out correctly, and everything is kept in line that way. The current auditor has had a little bit of problem with detail on some of these issues. So he's been on the job for 4 years, and we're still having issues showing up. This is something I take your right to vote, everybody's right to vote, very seriously. I think it's very important. I'm originally from Minnesota, where we can register at the polls. So coming to South Dakota, I have a different perspective. And I think anything we can do, any person that wants to help make it easier to vote in this state, I think is definitely a step in the right direction. So that's my main charge. Also, I've been in finance for over 5 years. I understand interest rates, bond rates, everything that has to do with finance. And as some of you know, the county is pinching its pennies right now. We, as the county, need to find more ways to spread out the revenue, to get the money where it needs to be. And I think someone with some finance experience would be really appreciated down there. I know the county commission would really appreciate that. As far as my opponent, a lot of you know Bob is the current auditor. All accounts, he's a great guy. He's held other positions in government. I even voted for him before. That's not to say I believe we need to get the right people in the right spots to do the most good for the community. This position is not right for him. It's perfectly suited for me. I'm here on my lunch break. I believe in working 40 plus hours a week, being in the office, doing the job that I'm paid to do. And that's something I think the current auditor hasn't quite figured out yet. So those are my main qualifications. I wish it was more of a sexy race as far as I don't get to do a lot of policy things. I believe in following the law, doing what I'm paid to do, and just doing what's right for the people in the county of Minnehaha. But I do want to say it's really exciting right now to be a Democrat. It's really exciting right now to be registered to vote. This election is going to be amazing. We heard from 2 excellent candidates. Third, Susie's here too. We have really an opportunity to make changes. I've met a lot of candidates that before I ran for office, I didn't get a chance to meet. And I want to say, as far as getting the right people in the right spots to do the most good, a lot of those people are in this room right now, and we have the ability to get them elected. So that's my little commercial. If you guys have any questions, I'd be happy to ask. Yes, sir?
I just have to say that 2 years ago, I was down at the county during the election night, representing the Democratic Party so that there would be no problems. And there were no problems. But your opponent, his function that night was carrying boxes into the office. His staff it was just like a beehive. They were just, it's their busy night of the year. And they were just going around and around, and he's bringing in boxes. And what floated through my mind is, We have the most expensive box holder in the nation. He was not giving any direction to his staff. The staff was running basically on automatic pilot. And he was, you know, I mean, honestly, I don't know the guy, but all I know is he's damn good at carrying boxes.
Well, and that, from before he took office, he had a conversation with Sue Rouse, who we all know was a Democrat and served in that office for many years, did an excellent job. He was quoted as saying, I'm going to be more of a managerial role. I'm going to take the hands off and just let people do their thing. Well, I don't really operate like that. I believe that I like being a source of information. I like being someone that that you can come to with problems. I like solving problems. I like all the analytics that go into it. I don't want to carry boxes. I want to have a plan in place. I want to make sure that if there is any sort of malfunction, I'm the one that's there with my hands on it to fix it. If you have a problem, if say, I don't know, this could be an example, if a husband and wife are told to vote at 2 different precincts, that maybe I would look into that and make sure that we get to the bottom of that so that they know where to vote and they're confident in their vote. The county is going to be moving to electronic ballots. We're going to be moving towards voting centers. Okay, right now, there are 72 precincts in the county. That's a lot of precincts. We want to shrink that. How do you do that? How do you do that effectively? And how do you do that so that everybody is still confident that their vote matters and their vote still counts? We have elderly people. They don't like computers. They don't get computers. How do we convince them that, hey, when you vote, it's just like filling in that oval. It's just like someone down there hand counting your vote. I can guarantee it because we have the systems in place. And that's going to be the next challenge in the next 4 years. There's going to be no more boxes for Bob to move. Okay? There's going to be just computer screens.
He's not going to have a job.
So we need, that's part of the problem solving. That's part of the planning that's going to go into being the next auditor for Minnehaha County. Any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
Do you know if any of the problems that happened in the primary in terms of people being told to go where they were supposed to switch? And that came from, did it come from Gant's office, or is that probably been taken care of?
You know, the last I heard is Bob sent it up there, and they sent it back down to Bob. And it hasn't really been addressed since then. He said, no, it's Secretary of State. Secretary of State said, no, it's a county issue. So one of the 2 gentlemen needed to pull out a map and just find out what's going on. And I'm not sure if they've done that. I know that I was having lunch with Jeff Barth one Tuesday after there was a mishap and sent out wrong ballots. He got a text from Bob saying, the fix is in. And that was it. So apparently the fix is in. I don't know if he means that it actually got fixed. So that's how we solved the issue. So. Yes, ma'am.
I'm Sue Knife. I was Bob's from last time, and I just came from election school because I'm going to be election superintendent. He said that they've gone back and forth 3 times, and he says it's fixed as far as they know. So he said if there are any problems, we have to contact them. The other couple things that he said that were disconcerting, he printed 100% ballots for every precinct because he said he doesn't want his name in the paper again because there was 1 ballot off or something off in a precinct. So we're getting 100% ballots this time. Total waste of paper. The other thing is that he said early voting is down. He said there should be, or last time there were about 14,000 early voters in the county. He thinks there are going to be about 8,000 up to election day. So I don't know if that's that people are still making up their minds and they're going to get out to the polls or what. But again, get out to vote.
That's right. Thank you very much.
One thing I'd like to see the next county auditor do is get the city, the school district, and the county all on the same page with elections. We have a massive problem in this city, and one of the reasons why voter turnout is bad and things happen is because every time there's an election in Sioux Falls, we don't know where to go. And it's kind of, it's a joke. And it's not that I'm against e-polling or the way we're doing the elections now, but if you would have looked at the city, the last election, the municipal election that was held, and all the undervotes, it tells you that a lot of people were showing up at the wrong place, and they weren't voting in the right thing, so they didn't vote at all. And is that something that you would push for? And I've talked to city officials, school district, and county all, and I've told them all, you need to fix this. This is a joke.
And that's a confidence, thank you for bringing that question up. That's a confidence issue that I'm talking about. Eventually, what's going to happen? People are not going to care. They're going to say, well, shoot, I go to 3 different polling spots and they all tell me to go someplace else. That is something that needs to be addressed and should be addressed. They did bring that up at a commission meeting that they want to all sort of get on the same page. But Cindy, the chair of the commission, said we don't have confidence in the auditor's office that they can manage all this. And that was a very alarming quote that the chairwoman of the county commission is saying, we don't have confidence in the office. There's a lot of good people that work down the auditor's office. They just have no leadership. There's no plan. And that's what I want to sort of bring, problem solving, hands-on. I want to get everything on the same page. I want to make sure that we can restore confidence, that if you know that you voted a certain precinct, you can go to that precinct, you can show your ID, and you can cast your ballot. Same thing happened to me in the primary. I didn't know my polling place changed. I lived 3 blocks from this church. I went, showed them my ID, they said, we don't have you here. And I said, what do you mean? I voted here the last 3 elections. They said, oh, well, you're on the south side of the street now, so you have to go 9, 10 blocks down to a different polling place. And I thought, oh, well, that was nice. You know, go ahead and change that. So yeah, I understand. I feel your frustration. Yes, sir.
I've been involved in elections for 48 years now in South Dakota. And one of the things that I'm really concerned about is this idea of voting centers. I do not believe at all in voting centers. I believe that we should have established polling places of some sort. If Minnehaha County uses 72 voting precincts, wonderful. That means you can walk that 3 blocks or that 9 blocks to go vote. When we had the voting centers this year, people were so absolutely confused. There were a lot of people who couldn't get out to vote. They couldn't get their wheelchairs. They couldn't get their walkers. They couldn't get away with the kids just to walk down to the schoolhouse and vote. We have enough places in this town that we can establish something. So if you're going to be in the auditor's office, you're going to have a lot of, and you decide to work with the Secretary of State who doesn't believe in the petition process or the people's right to vote, then we need people that are strong in that office and those of us that are on the outside pushing to make sure that we get rid of voting centers 100% in South Dakota.
Yeah, that's a good point. It is not really the decision of the auditor's office.
It has a lot of influence, though.
It does have some, you are correct, but the decisions are made higher up. My job would be to, how do I still make it accessible? How do I educate the people? How do we get them to know that there's going to be parking, there's not going to be lines? How do we, should the city, the county, can we get some sort of transportation set up for election day? These are all questions, like you said, so we can make it accessible and make everybody's vote count and get more people to polls, not less people to polls. I totally agree with you, and that is going to be one of the next big challenges. Not just to say, oh, they want it like this? All right, we'll just set up these big voting centers and wheel in some computers and call it good.
I love the comment you said the word transportation, because as this gentleman pointed out, the last time we had just 12 voting centers, I had to park like 3-4 blocks away, and then when I got to over at Boxing where I was supposed to vote, it took, the line was so long, and it took at least an hour to an hour and a half. So, first of all, maybe trams running back and forth. Maybe, if they're gonna insist on voting centers, let's make sure that we do get some of those solutions.
Yeah, thank you. That's correct. We can't just take a large number, shrink it down to a small number and assume that everything's gonna flow and work like it should. I mean, it's kind of ludicrous to say, okay, we're gonna take all these precincts, shrink them down to 12 of these centers, not take into account parking, accessibility, lines, the amount of people that are gonna be showing up here. And I'm not sure if that research or any of that actually went into it. They just said, man, these voting centers are awesome, let's do it. And there was no planning involved, is what it seems like to me, or very little. And they didn't take the logistics into it, because the entire picture comes into point there. Yes, sir.
Yeah, given how things are running, are we actually voting in voting centers on November 4th, or are we back to poll?
Everybody's at their precincts.
Okay,
So-
and how does one get that information? Does one call the county auditor?
Yeah, you get to call, that same thing happened to me when I went to my precinct to vote, and they said, you don't vote here.
Okay, so if I give them my street address, even though I live in Lincoln County, but I'm in Sioux Falls, would I be in better shape if I actually called in Lincoln County?
Yes.
Yeah, you got to vote in the county that you're registered.
Yeah, okay. I
Yeah.
mean, they will not, even though I live in Sioux Falls, the Minnehaha County auditor would not be aware of.
Not if you're in the Lincoln side. But if you do have any problems at the polls, the workers do have the number to the auditor's office, where you do give them your address, and then they can look up where you would go to vote.
You can call you can go to the Secretary of State's website, put in your address, and you should be able to find out.
Yep, and that would be more proactive, but if you get there and, they would have that information available to you. Thank you very much for having me.
I just want to say, you're a generous crowd.
Come on, Soda Pop, let's go. Come on, let's go. Come on.